Hello everyone and welcome to another challenger analysis. This is for patch 9.7 and well, we are looking at Emdiel again, who is probably the best lethality misfortune out there. He apparently, I don't know if it's just a phase, but apparently he went back to playing Dark Harvest and full lethality instead of press the attack with Blade of the Ruined King and whatnot. So this is what we're seeing today. We are seeing a very snowbally game from Emdiel, so maybe we can figure out how he does it. So he starts Doran's Blade and Health Potion, obviously. And his rune page is a Dark Harvest, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Ultimate Hunter, Manaflow Band, and Gathering Storm. That's his rune page, so he has enough mana and maximum late game damage to actually cast his spells and for them to be effective. So I guess it's Qmax Misfortune. I didn't look it up. Level 1 W as expected, because that's what you need to do if you want to push for level 2. And but I personally would play this with Qmax if you have Dark Harvest. The Sona going very aggressive already. Well, she needs to poke, but she went a little bit too close and Thresh retaliated big time. But in a Draven lane, I would expect that you typically need to position rather carefully so you don't get hit by the spinning axis. And, well, just not lose the lane, just don't allow the Draven to snowball and then you win in the long run. It's a kind of boring way to play, but it's pretty much what you need to do when you play against a snowball heavy champion such as Draven. So, this is the game plan. Apart from that, they have a Twisted Fate in the mid lane and a... Okay, some jabs are exchanged. And they have a Kha'Zix and a Fiora, so it's not the... Well, those four could be bot lane at any time past level 6 in the mid lane. So this is something you need to keep in mind. On the other hand, Talon is also quite good at roaming, and Elise is very early focused, so maybe they try to shut down the Draven early. We will see. But so far so good. Emdiel gets some free autos and Qs on the Draven, which is highly appreciated. But, well, Sona, her heal is not the strongest. The thing is, a lot of her power from... or a lot of power in her W is actually in the shielding effect, in the what is it called? Not the power chord, the... Well, in the passive, right? In the passive of the W ability that grants a shield to nearby allies. That's actually the main damage reduction. The healing is actually quite small, but especially after the first back, I don't think Emdiel will be able to poke the Draven. The thing is, Draven tends to buy lifesteal early, and he synergizes nicely with it. But Emdiel also, well, we need to talk about his build quickly. He does something very interesting, and this is that he does not buy boots, like ever. And typically he only does this, or normally he plays with, that's big. Nice. Sneaking the kill on the Sona. Let's look at this again. And she eats a crit here, which is key, because now she's low. Now Thresh flash flays her, she doesn't react in time. And Misfortune just runs at her. Auto Q auto and flash out, so Draven doesn't have the chance to get a revenge kill. Emdiel needs to be careful. Yeah, so far so good. Abusing the fact that Sona got low from the Q crits and... Nice. And clean killing her. But the important part is that they didn't keep on fighting once the Sona died. So when they were here, you probably saw that the well, as soon as Sona died, Emdiel, the Misfortune, just flashed back. So not giving the Draven even another auto, he'd still ignite on him. And had Draven gotten a revenge kill, this would definitely be in Draven's favor because of the adoration stacks. The classic Emdiel, just going quadruple longsword. I like it. It's as much AD as yeah, it's exactly as much as BF sword. Well, it takes almost all your item slots, but it's obviously better for Misfortune's build path if you plan on just buying lethality items. And Emdiel typically just rushes a Duskblade. So 4 longswords obviously go into Serrated Dirk and Caulfield's Warhammer, which are the components for Duskblade and Ghostblade. So this is why it's viable. That was not good. So Emdiel is now half health, which means he's probably not going to walk up and farm anytime soon. Oh, so far so good. The Sona and the Draven just let him do that, that's fine. Well, at least sitting on her own control ward. And now Sona walked up, and this is the time. And this is also, by the way, exactly how you need to deal with a Draven lane. I know it's frustrating as an AD carry because it's not under your influence, but in the case you play jungle, you beat the Draven lane by just camping him. Yeah, because he's immobile, right? He doesn't have a blink or a dash such as Lucian or Ezreal. But once he starts rolling, he just is unstoppable. So you really need to be careful. And by just consistently babysitting your own bot lane against the Draven, and by not messing up, by the way. If you just feed him kills, then that's another story. But by keeping him on his toes, you ensure that he doesn't get to his monstrous late game state. Or mid game state rather, because in the very late game he's obviously way weaker than other AD carries. So he's low now. Sona's also low. Wow. That was crazy. That's so unfortunate for the Kazakhs. Because had he been there a little bit earlier, he might have turned this around completely. Very nice, nicely played by the Thresh. And also what I was about to say earlier. Emdiel never buys boots, but I usually just see him playing with his Rakan duo. And, well, Rakan is a very utility-heavy support with a lot of peel and a lot of, well, he has shields, he has peels, and knock-ups, and so he can protect Misfortune quite effectively. But now he's not playing with his duo partner, he's playing with a random Thresh, I suppose. And, well, to be fair, I cannot know if they are duo or not, but I would assume they are not, because he usually duos with this Rakan player. But, even with a random quote-unquote support, he still thinks no boots Misfortune is fine, and I really want to see that. In my opinion, if you don't go for boots on Misfortune, you should go Ghostblade first and not Duskblade for the mobility. But even this, well, Emdiel doesn't care. He just goes for his Duskblade and is happy with this. And he got another Serrated Dirk and another longsword. So the 5th longsword is no longer part of... Oh, that was super bad. Sona just dies here. Yes, extremely basic mistake. She had nothing to do up there. All that could happen to her was she might get grabbed and then die. And it's exactly what happened. And now this Raven also needs to be careful because Misfortune and Thresh are both level 6. And should he get grabbed or flayed, he will most likely just die. So... Alright, so in my opinion, you should go Ghostblade first instead of Duskblade if you have no boots. And obviously Emdiel is still going to get both, which is why he bought the 5th longsword. The other 2 are already combined to a Serrated Dirk right now. But just stacking longswords in the early game is a really nice way for Misfortune to get her damage up. Because she can use those longswords in her item build, and if she doesn't get a Fortunate back or... Well, to be fair, Emdiel could have bought a Serrated Dirk plus a longsword instead of 4 longswords earlier. But, or at least I assume, it's a 50 gold difference. But by just buying the raw attack damage, you can also farm a little bit better because lethality obviously does not affect minions. It only affects champions and towers. And maybe inhibitors and the Nexus, I'm not sure. Definitely it does affect towers, and inhibitor and Nexus might be a different case, but I don't know for sure. Would need to look that up, but yeah. Right now, so far so good. This is exactly how you win against the Draven lane. You need to keep him, you need to, well, put effort into him not snowballing. So the jungler needs to spend time bot lane, and you as a bot laner. So if your jungler doesn't come, what do? You as a bot laner, you just try to avoid all-in fights, because Draven lanes are always all-in lanes. And if you, and even when you look at this composition, Thresh Misfortune, this is also an all-in heavy composition. Whereas Sona would rather be poke, but despite Sona being poke and Thresh being all-in, red team does not want to get an all-in 2v2 against those two. They need to, the Misfortune needs to poke beforehand, and then maybe Thresh can get a grab. But an outright 2v2 all-in, I think, would still favor the Draven. At least, well, at least when they are even in gold. At this point, Misfortune is so fed. Well, that was a very good stand aside. Sona still dies though. Yeah. But this is just general Draven advice. If the Draven and his support are still even in gold with you and your support, you need to avoid all-in fights. You need to poke him beforehand. Because Draven is just such a heavy all-in, or all-in heavy champion. His all-ins are very strong, obviously. I guess every one of you already played against a Draven in their lives, so you definitely know what I'm talking about. But yeah, if you get jungle attention, you should consistently watch the minimap, because if your jungler decides to... Kha'Zix's left. Well, so far so good. I hope he returns. But if your jungler is... if your jungler is paying attention to your lane, should be able to react to that properly. So don't just sit on the tower and try to avoid the Draven getting fed. If your jungler is there, you need to be aggressive. This, by the way, is a very nice trap. So if anyone walks there and tries to defend this turret, now it's too late, obviously. But if anyone would try to do that, Thresh can just catch them and they dive him. 3 versus 1. The tower is pretty much an additional player. Because, well, damage-wise, you can think of that. So if you dive for 3 people against 1, it's essentially a 3v2. The 3 of you versus 1 enemy and the tower. So this is one way to put it. If you don't know whether you should dive or not, just try to think of numbers advantage and disadvantage. So if there's 2 people sitting under the tower, low or semi-low on HP, and you are 2 people who try to dive them, it's definitely a bad idea, because you would be in a 2v3, if that makes sense. The 2 of them, even though they are low, it's still 2 champions with 4 abilities each. And the tower, which deals a lot of damage. Obviously, it's very predictable what the tower is doing, so that's the weakness, but still, it's just a lot of damage, especially in the early game. Yeah, now they collapse again. What? I need to see that again. Sona was not even CC'd or anything, she just walked, right? Yep. That's just the power of a fed Misfortune. But also Sona has no boots, so that might be an issue. But yeah. If you have a Duskblade and another Serrated Dirk at minute 13, your one-shot potential is quite high. But obviously the longer the game goes, the better, because... or it depends, if you can get your Dark Harvest stacks, obviously the better. But once you start snowballing, you should be able to get them, right? And this is just not brutal. They completely deny them their own jungle. Yeah, this looks like a... This looks like GG. So yeah, all of red team's turrets are still alive, and they lost this tower and this tower on the blue team's side. So now with Rift Tower, mid tower is pretty hard to take in general. So if you need to find a way to crack it open, Rift Tower is always a good call. And now they should just go mid in group and use the Rift Herald. And the Talon is AFK right now, right? So this is a 4v5, which might become a problem. But red team is so far ahead that it might not even matter. And yet another longsword. Obviously after Ghostblade you can buy a... What is it called? Edge of Night is definitely an option, but MD really likes to get a Last Whisper item. well, mostly Lord Dominic's regards. He really thinks, and I think I need to agree with that, that the extra 10% armor penetration is worth way more in a full lethality build. Because the way lethality works is the more you stack it, the more effective it gets. And this is because of the way armor works. So if you have 100 armor, an additional 100 armor only reduces the incoming damage by another 25%. But if you have 0 armor, the first 100 armor you get reduces it by 50%. So the more... what this means is the closer you get the enemy, the effective armor from the enemy champions, or of the enemy champions, to 0, the more damage you deal. So if you penetrate their base armor, that's really where you want to be. And so the 10% goes a long way if you just stack other lethality items. I don't know if I explained this well enough. If you didn't understand, you can let me know in the comments if you want to know exactly how that works. But yeah, it pretty much boils down to, if you have lethality, if you plan to build lethality on a champion, you should get all lethality items, because they almost synergize with each other like crit items. Well, it's obviously not the exact same way. They don't have a unique passive like Infinity Edge or something, but just because of the way how armor works, you need to buy them together to gain maximum effectiveness. And yeah, the Herald's just cracking open their entire base. Oh well, I guess the last few minutes we can sit back and watch Emdiel stomp. Sitting at 6-0 right now. I'm actually not sure which rune shards he uses, if he goes for the adaptive force twice or if he goes for attack speed plus adaptive force. Okay, we will check this. We will watch this game, and before it ends I will go back to the beginning and just look at his attack speed stat. I can't see his stats, right? Yeah, then I will see if he has the extra attack speed or not. So we will do that. Stay tuned for that. I guess the game is over in a second or so. Or in a minute. But yeah, they just completely... The other lanes won too, which is obviously helping. But they just completely shut down the Draven, and with that, snowballed the bot lane. Right, I don't think they're defending anymore, are they? Yeah. This is just over. Alright, so... Obviously it was a rather stompy game, but I think it really shows how you need to deal with the Draven lane. Right, the game is over, but I want to go back to the beginning to see which shards he is using. Does this work? Yeah, kinda. It doesn't... Oh yes, it does work. Okay, so what do we see here? Bonus 0%. Okay, so Emdiel just goes for double adaptive force plus armor. Yeah, there we have the 6 armor. And this is definitely double adaptive force plus Doran's Blade. Alright, so there you have it. If you want to play for lethality misfortune, Emdiel is probably the best person to look up. But this shall be my analysis for today. If you want me to analyze one of your games, all you need to do is leave me a comment with your summoner name and your server, and I might analyze one of your games in the coming week. Alright, so also it helps if you're a channel member, so get a channel membership, helps out a lot and also increases your chances of getting the analysis. Right, so I hope you have a nice day, and I also hope to see you tomorrow. Bye!